All right, everybody, so Derwin James from Florida State, the star safety, has just announced that he's not going to be playing in the bowl game for the Seminoles. They're 6-6, playing in the Independence Bowl against Southern Miss, and Derwin James won't be a part of that. We're going to look at why he or any other college football player would decide not to do that. I know this disheartens a lot of people. A lot of people really like to see their players in college finish the season out, get to play the bowl game with their teammates that they started the season with. But there's a couple of very good reasons from a business standpoint not to do that. We're going to look at that with Derwin James. First of all, that's the obvious one. That is the injury. If you play in this bowl game, which is largely a meaningless game unless you just really enjoy the experience or you want to be a part of it, if you play in this game and you suffer an injury, it could potentially end your entire career. And certainly that's going to put you down there at the bottom. No money at all. You're never going to make any money at all off your NFL career if you suffer a torn ACL or really serious knee injury, a back injury of some sort. And that certainly can happen. It has happened to other people in the past. It's a very small percentage of athletes. Certainly doesn't happen to most people, but the potential is there. Now, let's say that you don't suffer that kind of a drastic injury, but you do get hurt. All of a sudden, you cannot prepare for the NFL draft. You cannot go to the NFL Combine. You cannot practice privately for teams because you are rehabbing from an injury. People know, or largely think they know, that you're still going to be able to play at a high level, but because they can't see it up close and in person, there's a very good chance that a guy like Derwin James could drop from the first round to the second round. This is more common. This happens a good bit. And this is where the real danger lies, not in that career-ending injury, but in that kind of an injury that drops you from the first round to the second round. Now, Derwin James is almost a first-round lock. Most projections have him going somewhere in the top 12. Some of them have him as high as number 4 overall. So really, he stands a very good chance of getting drafted very high. So for him, an injury in a bowl game that could keep him from showing teams what he could do, even though they've got the tape, it is not uncommon at all for players to drop out of that first round and into that second round. NFL executives, when they're drafted in the first round, especially high, they really like those picks to be spotless. They don't like any major blemishes. And an injury that a guy is rehabbing from, even if they largely feel he's going to be able to come back from that, can drop them out of the first round and into the second round. So here's what that does. Even if you're the first pick in the second round, you're going to get a 4-year contract worth a total of $7 million based on last year's draft. 4-year contract worth $7 million. Now, if he goes where he is safely projected to go, somewhere in the top 12, let's put him at number 10 overall, number 10 in the first round, number 10 in the whole draft, he's going to get a 4-year contract worth $16 million overall, plus the team itself would have a 5th-year option that would introduce even more money into the contract. So just by going from number 10 overall, if he were to suffer an injury in the bowl game, not a major devastating injury, but one that he had to rehab from for several months and wasn't able to show teams what he could do, if he were to drop from number 10 overall to the first pick of the second round, that's not very far, that's about 23, 22 spots, he would stand to lose $9 million over the course of the next 4 years. $9 million. It's more than twice what he could make as the first pick of the second round to number 10 overall. Now, that's the really big thing, the injury, not that career-ending injury, but that injury that keeps you from getting to show teams what you can do, or puts just enough doubt in teams' minds that maybe this guy isn't going to be able to come back at full strength after he's done rehabbing. That is the most common. Now, even more of a possibility for Derwin James, even if he didn't get injured in that bowl game at all, he would be spending the next few weeks preparing with his team, Florida State, getting ready for a bowl game. Instead, he's going to be spending the next few weeks getting ready for the NFL draft. You say, well, that couldn't be that big of a difference, but it is. For a lot of NFL executives, when they get them in the NFL Combine, when they're putting them on display in the private workouts, when they're showing senior day at the school, and some of these guys get to go to that, a guy like Derwin James, they're looking for measurables. Over the next few weeks, Derwin James is going to be increasing his vertical jump, his strength, his speed. He's going to be increasing all of that. By the time the draft happens over in the spring, all of his measurables will be up, and he will have had an extra few weeks to do exclusively that, get ready for this NFL draft. The difference where that could come in at, for some teams, not for all teams, but for some teams, if he gets drafted number 6 overall. Last year, this is where Jamal Adams, safety from LSU, got drafted number 6 overall. Jamal Adams has a $22 million contract over 4 seasons. So simply by going from number 10 overall to number 6 overall, his value goes from $16 million to $22 million. So those extra few weeks that he spends preparing for the NFL draft, for some teams, could catapult him if they really like the way he explodes off the charts at the NFL Combine or at the private workouts. If they really like that, he could go from a $16 million value over 4 seasons to a $22 million value over the next 4 seasons. So it's quite an escalator here to go from 0 if you have a career-ending injury to $7 million if you're drafted early in the 2nd round, to $16 million up to $22 million if he gets drafted number 6 overall, which is a very distinct possibility for Derwin James. Now listen, we're not going to criticize anybody who decides to make a decision on either way, either side of this fence. For those athletes, listen, there are lots of other athletes who are playing in largely meaningless bowl games, guys who are going to be drafted in the top 10 as well, and they have elected to play in those bowl games, to play for those teams. We laud those guys as well. We respect the heck out of that too. But for Derwin James, and obviously he's been talking to some people trying to make up his mind about this, for Derwin James, the best thing for him, he felt, was to go ahead and skip the bowl game and to play, not to play for Florida State, but to get ready for the NFL draft. All right, this is Sports and Money. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. I'm Ben Parker.